Hello everyone, and right now we are going to talk about the fourth one, how our emotions are abused. If you're watching us on YouTube, not on Facebook, you can follow us on Facebook. There we have our emotional abuse marathon, which would last for a couple more weeks. There we discuss different stories and give examples and different exercises. So why it's so important to talk about emotional abuse? Because when we talk about our partners, friends, or relatives, then they can abuse us much more often than the others. And actually, we get used to it and our level of tolerance goes down. And it affects the whole structure, and our perception of this world. So I can give you one very good example from my parents' life. I suppose that if you try to remember about your own parents, you will remember at least a couple arguments that they had. Maybe with you sitting in the same room, maybe with you sitting in the other room, but still you could hear they had a big argument. That's very common. So, my parents are both retired, but my father still has a small job. He helps some people, and he enjoys this very much. But my mother doesn't like father's job because she believes it has a bad effect on his health, and the company of people he work with, they are strange people and not good, she believes. And as I do not speak so much with my father like my mother, she told me all these stories and I believed her. So my mother tries to fight with my father, let's say at least 10 years. And she tried to ask him to quit this job. But he said no, and usually they had big arguments, would shout at each other, and so on and so on. And I went to a special emotional course, studied feelings, and I learned a lot, and I offered my mother to help. So once we decided to sit together at the table, my mother, my father, and me, and we were discussing father's job. So I started to ask my father different questions about his job, why he likes it, what's included, so how much time would he spend per day, and so on and so on. So many different questions, and then my mother would be just silent and write down all the answers. And then at the end of this dialogue, I understood that my father really likes his job and it's all fine. Yes, it has not a very good effect on his health, but who has a very good, healthy job right now? So my mother was very unhappy after this dialogue because she said, oh, again, we could do nothing. And she was very sad about it. But then I tried to explain her some things about abuse that actually my father blamed and shamed my father for so many years. And I explained her some things from the course that I had, and so on and so on. And then in 3 weeks, my mother called me and said, I thought, why not? Okay, let him just continue this job. It's all right. Why not? And she was absolutely fine with it. After all, it was my small victory. I was very, very happy. And you can do the same. Actually, even within these long-term relationships, you can stop emotional abuse. At least some, because it takes time. There are so many types of abuse. That's the problem. I can give you one very good exercise to do, shaming, blaming exercise. So think about your relatives, partners, or about your friends. When they start shaming, blaming you, what do? You start shouting at them and start fighting and telling about your opinion, or you just ignore them and you switch a louder sound on the TV, or you just go to another room and say oh, it's all right, he does it every day, no problem. Or you feel guilt and shame within you. Think about it. When we get used to emotional abuse, it lives within us. It's a problem. We need to start noticing it. And then you can have small victories like I do. So The question is, what do you do when your closest environment shames and blames you? And I ask you, please, write just under this post, what do you usually do? And we will discuss it. Thank you very much.